I wasn't invited to Christmas. Again. The thing about being the quiet one is people think they can cut you out without consequence. That's what I realized 3 days before Christmas, standing in my kitchen with snow clinging to my coat sleeves and a grocery bag slowly dripping from my fingers. My name's Lena Morgan. I'm 36, a hospice doctor based in Oregon, and apparently, according to my parents, I carry too much heavy energy to be invited to Christmas this year. The call came just as I walked through the door from a double shift. My back ached. I hadn't eaten since 7 a.m. I was looking forward to the moment I'd light my tiny thrift store tree and start wrapping the last few gifts I bought, each one carefully chosen for people who never really saw me. But my mom's voice was the first thing I heard. "Sweetheart, this year, we just want things to be light. You know? Warm, joyful, the energy you bring from work. It's a lot." Before I could even answer, my dad took over. "Marina's coming, and she's very sensitive to emotional residue," he added, like I was some kind of radiation hazard. "It's nothing personal. We just thought maybe you'd take a break this year." Nothing personal. That was rich coming from Denise and Carl Morgan, the founders of Hearts of Grace, a community health nonprofit that only exists because of my medical license. Without it, they wouldn't qualify for even half of their funding. They never mentioned that part at the fundraisers, of course. There, they beam proudly about serving others and building a legacy. My younger brother Julian designs the brochures and plays acoustic guitar at donor events. He's the heart of the brand. I'm not even on the board. Still, every year I show up. I bring the casserole, I coordinate the vendor deliveries, I fix the busted garland no one else notices. This year I wrapped 6 gift boxes. I even picked out a handmade candle for Marina, something that smelled like quiet lakes and fake forgiveness. I placed the grocery bag down and caught my reflection in the oven door. Tired eyes, chapped lips, and a woman too used to being erased gently. Then I walked to my desk. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't ask to be invited. I just opened my laptop, logged into the Oregon Medical Board's portal, and submitted one quiet form. Withdraw License Association from external institutions. One click. No announcement. If they didn't want me in the room, fine. Let's see how warm and joyful things feel when the foundation silently disappears. You know what no one ever teaches you? That being dependable can become your prison. That if you're always the one fixing things, people stop seeing you at all. I used to think Hearts of Grace, the nonprofit my parents founded, was their proudest creation. A way to give back. Something real. And for years, I was proud to help. When they asked if I could use my license so they'd qualify for state-level grants, I didn't hesitate. "It's just paperwork," they said. "You won't be involved day to day." They were right. I wasn't involved. I was erased. No one ever introduced me at events. No one asked me to speak at fundraisers. On the rare occasion my name came up, it was our daughter who's busy with hospital things. Meanwhile, Julian, my younger brother, was the golden child of the operation, the face of the cause. He's never finished a degree, but he's charismatic, photogenic, and good with social captions. They loved that. I remember the night they got their biggest grant, $75,000, for mobile care units. I'd just worked a double shift with 2 deaths back to back. I showed up in flats and a wrinkled blouse, thinking I could at least watch from the back. But there were no extra seats, no name tag for me. Julian gave a speech thanking everyone who makes this vision possible, while I stood beside the punch bowl and clapped like a guest. That's the thing about people like me. We're scaffolding. We hold things up, we make things safe, but no one notices until we crack. And you know what? I let them. Because somewhere deep down, I thought if I stayed useful enough, they'd finally look up and say, "We see you, we're proud." They never did. That night, after the call disinviting me from Christmas, I sat at my desk and opened a folder labeled Compliance and Renewal, Hearts of Grace. Inside, my medical license renewal forms IRS nonprofit certification documents with my credentials attached. The grant agreement I signed 2 years ago because Dad said the timing was urgent. I didn't feel anger, just clarity. Everything they had built was propped up on my back, and maybe it was time to stop carrying it. Honestly, have you ever had a moment like that? Where you suddenly realize They don't value me. They rely on me. If so, I hope you know, you're not bitter. You're just done. I didn't call. I didn't explain. I simply opened the first document, unchecked one box, and hit submit. That was all it took to start the fall. I didn't tell anyone. Not my coworkers, not Aunt May who still sends me prayer texts every Thursday, not even my therapist. I just stopped. That night, after I pulled my license from Hearts of Grace's registration, I unplugged the string lights around my window, slid the wrapped gifts into the closet, and turned off the Christmas playlist I had playing in the background. It wasn't sadness I felt. It wasn't rage. It was something cleaner, quieter, like shutting a door you never noticed was open and realizing how much heat it was letting out. The next morning, I canceled the auto payments I had set up to cover miscellaneous organizational costs. $312 a month for their storage unit, $149 for their donor email software, the $20 domain renewal I'd been covering for 6 years without a word. I left no trace. No passive-aggressive messages, just a digital erasure of my involvement. Click, click, gone. By midweek, I received an email from a board member. "Hi, Lena, quick question. We're getting an alert that our compliance status has shifted. Nothing urgent, just checking in." I didn't reply because it wasn't my emergency anymore. I had been keeping that machine running for so long, no one even noticed my hands on the gears. Let them notice now. Julian called later that night, sounding chipper, like nothing had happened. "Hey, so, funny thing, our email campaign platform logged out and Mom said you usually handle that? No rush, just when you get a sec." I sawed at the blinking cursor on my screen. Then I pressed delete. The old me? The Lena who answered every, "Hey, quick thing," like it was a fire alarm. She would have fixed it in under 5 minutes. But she doesn't live here anymore. I sat back in my chair and let the silence stretch. No one screamed at me. No one blamed me. But that's the thing about being invisible for so long. When you finally remove yourself, it echoes. And maybe that's what they never expected. Not a scene, not a meltdown, just absence. Real, permanent absence. That's the kind of silence you can't argue with. It started with a flurry of texts on December 27th. Subject lines like, "Urgent, license issue, compliance hold, hey Lena, quick favor if you're around." Then came the voicemail from my dad. "There's a glitch in the system. Can you just log in and take a look? It's probably nothing." The irony hit hard. The man who said my emotional residue was too heavy for Christmas now wanted me to patch his world back together. Again. I didn't call back. And within 48 hours, Hearts of Grace was officially flagged as out of compliance by the state medical board. No license on file, no new patient services allowed, no active funding channels. The dominoes fell faster than even I expected. On the 20th, their largest grant, a $120,000 annual program subsidy, was suspended pending verification. The donor organization sent a letter. "We were unaware that Dr. Lena Morgan's credentials were tied to the operation. Please advise immediately." Suddenly, my name was everywhere. The same name that had never made it into a single event program, the same name no one remembered when it came time to cut the cake or take the photos. I found out from a friend at the hospital that my mom had called around looking for clarification. I pictured her at the dining room table, reading legal notices with trembling hands, asking my father, why didn't we just make her feel like she mattered? But guilt wasn't what they felt. It was panic. Julian texted me at 10:47 p.m. on New Year's Eve. "Hey, not sure what's going on, but this is spiraling. Please, just tell me what you need. I'll fix it." I didn't reply, because for once, it wasn't mine to fix. For once, they had to feel what it was like to stand on a foundation that wasn't really theirs. And it cracked. Their carefully curated image, the holiday newsletters, the smiling donation campaigns, the Morgan family legacy, it began to unravel thread by thread, and the only sound louder than the silence I left behind was the scramble to rebuild something they'd never really built on their own. Funny how fragile things become when you finally stop holding them up. The truth came out at a New Year's brunch. Not mine. I wasn't there. It was at my parents' house, what was supposed to be a cozy gathering with donors, neighbors, and church friends. They still went through with it, as if the collapsing nonprofit wasn't unraveling beneath their feet. But panic smells, and silence is louder in daylight. Marina, Julian's girlfriend, noticed first. She'd always been a little too perceptive for their liking. Someone had asked about the Hearts of Grace licensing pause. Julian gave a vague answer about paperwork being processed, but Marina had already read the article. "You mean the one that says the doctor who made your nonprofit legal never even got a thank you?" She said it lightly, but the room went quiet. Forks froze midair. Glasses stopped clinking. Someone muttered, "Wait, Lena?" That name, it didn't belong in those rooms. Not out loud, not like that. Not when the whole image had been built around pretending I was too distant, too intense, too busy to be part of the story. But now, the story was breaking on its own. Earlier that week, a regional health blog had picked up the grant suspension news. They ran a short op-ed titled, "When the Real Backbone Walks Away, the Doctor Behind the Curtain." My name was in the byline. The comments were kind. One former patient of mine wrote, "She sat with my mother for 5 hours when no one else would. If this is the person they excluded, that says everything." I didn't post it. I didn't even share it. But Marina did, with 3 words. "Now it makes sense." After that, people started asking questions. Why had I never been on the board? Why did none of the tax records show shared ownership? Why did the daughter with the degree, the license, and the medical expertise never get credit? And the truth was simple. Because I made it too easy to be erased. I had let them take and take, hoping they'd one day offer a seat. But scaffolding doesn't get a seat. It just holds everything up until it doesn't. For once, I didn't have to explain. Someone else finally saw and said it out loud in rooms where my name used to vanish. Funny thing is, I didn't feel vindicated. I felt seen. Quietly, finally, honestly, seen. The knock came on a Sunday morning in mid-January. I was charting patient notes at my desk, wrapped in the same olive green sweater I'd worn the day the calls stopped. Outside, the rain was steady, soft, not dramatic. Inside, my kettle was humming. I didn't flinch when I heard it, just stood up, walked to the door, and checked the peephole. It was them. My mom, my dad, Julian. 3 bundled-up silhouettes holding a Tupperware container and a look that said, "We've rehearsed this." I opened the door just a few inches. Enough for the chill to brush past me. Not enough to invite anyone in. "We just want to talk," my mom said. Her voice was soft, but it had a tremble I recognized. Not guilt. Worry. Worry that the version of me they knew wasn't coming back. And she was right. I didn't ask what they came for, because I knew. It wasn't about me. It was about the hole I left behind when I stopped holding their story together. "Can we fix this?" Julian asked. "Whatever it takes." I looked at him, at all of them, and for once, I didn't feel the pull to rescue. I didn't feel like the scaffolding. I didn't feel like a ghost. I felt real. "No," I said gently. No dramatics, no slammed doors, just no. Their faces cracked in that subtle, stunned way people do when they've never been denied. I didn't owe them a breakdown. I didn't owe them an explanation. I just quietly closed the door. Back at my desk, I sat down and let the silence return. Not hollow, not sharp. Full, sacred, earned. On the shelf beside me was a framed card Marina had left at my door weeks earlier. Just 2 sentences. "You didn't ask to be seen, but I saw you, and I'm not the only one." I read it every so often, not for validation, but as proof that quiet doesn't mean invisible. And walking away isn't the same as giving up. Sometimes it's the beginning of being whole. So if you've ever felt like the one who keeps everything from falling apart, if you've ever wondered what would happen if you stepped back, let me tell you something I wish someone had told me. The people who only love you when you're useful don't really love you. And the moment you stop proving your worth, you'll finally feel it. The weightlifting, the air returning, you don't have to yell, you just have to stop showing up. And maybe for the first time, show up for yourself. If that resonates with you, even just a little, I'd love to hear your story too. Drop a comment or just say, "I'm here." Sometimes that's all we need to know we're not alone.